Yes, indeed, y'all. Yes, indeed. Welcome to UDR Productions. Please like, subscribe, and share. It doesn't cost you nothing to subscribe, so we can keep bringing you guys all this good content from prayer to streets. UDR Productions. Let's go and let's get it.
What's up? Good afternoon, y'all. You listen to your boy MVP, most valuable poet, the proud radical black Puerto Rican man, God for life starter, currently residing in Bridgeport, CT. Folks, we just enjoying a wonderful time. We're enjoying this wonderful day that the Lord woke us up at this moment, at this time, during this day. Let's just be thankful. I know it's supposed to snow sometime tonight, going on to early morning, but nonetheless, let's make the most of every situation. Let's be grateful for what we have, not what we don't have. So before we get into tonight's topic, I definitely want to start with a prayer, just to be uplifted, to be edified, to be inspiring. And if you feel inspired to pray with me, let's all come together and pray as one body of Christ. Thank you, Lord, for this time together, Lord. Thank you for this day. Thank you for waking us up, Father God. We was never promised today itself, but you woke us up. We're very gratefully thankful to you, Lord. Let's have a wonderful show. Let's rock and let's inspire. And let's continue to be one body in Christ and unify as one. In your mind's name we pray. Amen. So I want to start before I get into tonight's topics, I said before, I want to start with a poem just to kind of kick off the discussion for today. And this poem is called Those Who Follow My Footsteps. And basically it's about being legacy minded, where I want folks who's coming to know who I am in the Lord's name. And even talking to folks that's out here now that's trying to figure out who are they and where they belong as far as in this lifetime that we're in. So this poem basically talks about just being hope and being that light that will shed the darkness. It goes like this. In my hand, I recite poems that will give all of you the chills. My unprecedented thoughts of how I choose my words spills. Whether it's on paper or smartphone, my message injects the thrills of angry faces that transform to happiness, all based on art I master and literature I instill. The minds of many that feel inspired, all who still follow my footsteps. In my hand I hold the sword that swings graves of solemn indulgence and the shield of spoken words that protects ignorance with rhyme and reason striking a chord like a guitar. Vibrating sounds that embraces sensations, heighten, enlighten aspirations to those who will follow my footsteps. In my hand I'm holding on to that same shield, encompasses courage of expression which is yield, sprinkle knowledge of seeds to grow that is wheeled in the minds of all that will be fully healed. Lies and fictions from fictional characters of America that was once concealed. My wisdom to ignite truth has been revealed. I pass the torch to those who follow my footsteps. Now another day passes by without me looking high at the sky and let my ideas fly. Images that continues to pass by. Words descended without no goodbye. Simply because what lies inside, no reason to ever hide. My words still transcend nationwide. My decrees that empowers all to believe will embark a movement worldwide. All because they followed in my footsteps. And that was the poem, Those Who Follow My Footsteps. And before I get into tonight's discussion, I want to share the verse of the day because it's really important that we really hone in on what this topic is going to be focusing on, because I believe that the Lord once again is getting our attention. And this verse of the day, pardon me 1 second, y'all, forgive me. Just want to just make sure that the information pops up. There we go. The verse of the day comes from Proverbs 16:3, and it says that commit your works to the Lord and your thoughts will be established. And I think that's very important for us to be reminded that we have to continue to devote and commit the works of what the Lord has put upon us to make sure that He gets all the honor and glory, and that the thoughts that we have will be established because it now lines up with this principle. So let's make sure that we continue to, align ourselves with God's words and with the Lord's principles and His promises. All right. So continue to do the works for the Lord. Make sure you boast Him and give Him all the honor and glory. So with that being said, I want to discuss about tonight's topic, and this is something that's been heavily on my mind. That I'm glad, and I want to give a shout out to my man Dog for giving me this opportunity to really share this, because him and I spoke about it off the air, and he's like, you know what, man, go for it, man, because I think this is something that needs to be spoken of, it needs to be conveyed, it needs to be brought attention to, and this discussion is focusing on domestic violence. Now, I want to just start off with something more recent, and what took place very recently happened last Saturday. So last Saturday, there was a football player named Chad Wheeler. No, this guy was not a household name. No, he's not a well-known superstar Pro Bowler like Deion Sanders, or Jerry Rice, a Junior Seau, and so forth. But this was a guy that was dating someone. Now, mind you, he's a white guy dating a woman of color. And if you saw images and pictures of the swellings, the bloodshed from her mouth, from her nose, from her eyes, it was very horrific. And what bugged me out was the fact that this happened last Saturday, and then this was brought out on Friday, day before yesterday. I'm like, well, why would it take almost a week to really, broadcast this recent event? And we could take it from all different sides. One way you could look at it is, he's not a household name. Like, he's not a Pro Bowler. He's not a Super Bowl champ. He was not someone that had accolades that he was well known. You could look at it from that standpoint. Or you could look at it from the standpoint that, well, he's a white guy, so he might just got away with stuff, whereas the victim happens to be a person of color, a black woman in this particular case. So there's many ways you can look at it, but I'm going to just take it from this standpoint, from this position. The fact that first of all, the fact that it took this long for this to be airplayed, to me, is unacceptably wrong, and it's just blasphemously disrespectful. Blasphemously disrespectful, because the fact that anytime you hear about domestic violence taking place, anytime you hear about someone getting beaten, whether it's a guy to a girl or a girl to a guy, and I have to make that very clear, because a lot of times you think of DV, you think automatically, oh, it's the guy beating up on the girl. And I'm not saying that it doesn't happen, because it does. However, it also goes both ways. A woman should not put her hands on a man, nor should a man put his hands on a woman. It goes both ways. There is no, oh, because he's bigger and stronger. Nah. The moment you're not touching someone to pray, to love make, to hold hands in affection and affirmation, you should not be putting your hands on anybody, period. It's plain and simple. So what you have is that they're trying to excuse his behavior once again, because they're using mental disorder to justify why he committed those transgressions at the level that he did. And I'm just very disappointed the fact that when it comes to certain demographic of people, there has to be a different narrative of a certain group of folks, and it should never be. And what I said before, I say it then, I say it now. Transgressions and sin has nothing to do with the color of a person, but the act itself. Now, everybody's going out of their way saying, oh man, poor Chad Wheeler, he has mental disorders. Let me explain something, and let me make something abundantly clear right here and right now. I work with people who have dealt with mental disorders. I have family members who have mental disorders. So that's not something you want to play around with. And that should not be the forefront justifying bad behavior. Because whether you have mental disorders or if you do not have mental disorders, wrong is wrong, a sin is a sin. Now, what this guy did to his girl is so unacceptable. And the fact that there's a narrative behind that as far as why he did it, no, there's no narrative other than why he had the right, or at least in his eyes, from his estimation, from his perspective, he felt that it was okay to put his hands on this girl because she didn't bow down to him. Let me make something very clear. You want to bow down? You bow down to God. You bow down to Jesus Christ, who does not strike you and abuse you. You bow down to him because he's the ultimate high, the almighty God. That's why you bow down. You don't bow down to nobody. You don't bow down to man. You don't bow down to woman. You don't bow down to you. You don't bow down to nobody. Period. You bow down to God for his grace, for his affirmation, for confirmation, for inspiration, for aspiration, for promises. So let's not even do that. Let's not even go there. That goes without saying in itself. What I find more disturbing is the fact that it took almost 5 days to put this information out there. Why is that? Because he's a white guy and she's black, and it has no bearing, it has no relevance. And anybody's going out of the way feeling sorry for him. Did anybody have the decency, the compassion, the empathy to feel sorry for the woman that got victimized of domestic violence? Did anybody took into an account that she got beat up? Did anybody took into an account of why she got beat up? Did anybody took into an account of what led to? It's very simple. She didn't bow down to him because whatever he tried to tell her, she wouldn't do it, so therefore he hits her. Let me make something very clear. Anybody that puts their hands on somebody is a coward, a sucker, and a lowlife. Because let me tell you something. Let me tell you where I come from, how it goes on my end, and how I was raised. If you are a guy that wants to put their hands on a woman, it goes back. Put your hands on a guy and see what's going to happen next. And I'm not trying to sit here and promote violence. I'm not trying to come across as a certified gangster. I'm not doing none of that. All I'm saying is that when you come across that way, with that kind of aggression, bring that same aggression when a man's about to height and size and step to him like that and see if you're going to do what Chadwick did to his girlfriend. So here's my standpoint and my honesty about this in itself. I believe that the NFL dropped this ball again. I don't understand, and I don't see why people can sit there and continue to watch football. Me personally, I don't watch football for a different reason. For the simple fact that for me, and I'm just speaking for me, I'm not trying to force feed no one. I'm not trying to shove down thoughts of any ideas down someone's throat. So it's about respect as far as for me giving that respect to you, and vice versa, give that respect to me in that regard. Let's just keep things on an even playing field. What I'm simply saying is that there should be full maximum punishment for what he did. And if the NFL screws this up like they did with Ray Rice, if they screw this up like how they did Colin Kaepernick wrong as far as him being blackballed, I don't see how you can watch NFL and support it. I don't see how. I don't watch football for this reason. Because like I said, I've seen guys in the NFL that stands for No Freedom League because it seems like they're too scared to speak up and speak out about the injustices that's going on in our society. They're too scared to bring forth the attention without losing their jobs. Let me tell you something. There are people in life that have sacrificed a lot, knowing that they might lose their jobs or even losing their life. And what Kaepernick did was something very simple. He just took a knee to address the injustices, and they robbed this man of now going on 4 years of his NFL young career. But meanwhile, you got guys committing transgressions left and right. You got guys committing all types of sins left and right. You got all types of guys committing iniquities from all different cylinders, multitude of times. And they still playing NFL football, and they still out there getting a contract. And I'm not saying that people don't get a second chance. Don't misconstrue it. But what I'm saying is that it's just so contradictory how a person commit multitudes of crimes and multitudes of transgressions gets more opportunity for an NFL contract than a guy that took a knee that didn't commit any crimes but just took a stand on something that he believed in. Now, one can argue and debate and say, well, certain things he went about it might have been done wrong. Okay, that's a fair point. Some aspects as far as how he went about it might have been wrong. But at the end of the day, you have guys that's committed more foul play and gained more fair opportunities than this man, Colin Kaepernick. And to me, that's just wrong. So that's why I don't watch the NFL football in itself. Now, not to get off track, let me just allude to that part. Now, let's just bring it back to this conversation in itself. The NFL, he's part of the NFL team. Seattle Seahawks, I believe, released him. But he's still part of the NFL brand. And I'm saying as an organization, as a league, if you do not reprimand this dude for what he did, as far as punishment, as far as getting kicked out, being banned, or at least suspending him, and you let this guy still play even after the fact of what he did, I don't see how people can sit there and continue to watch football. I don't see how anyone can sit there and endorse and support the Super Bowl or watch the NFL Pro Bowl or whatever tournaments that they got going on with the NFL. To me, that's an embarrassment as a society. I find that disgraceful as a community, and I find it very shamefully disrespectful that you have moments like this that folks are too close-minded and too shallow of a person in terms of your thought process and your mentality to not step out of that comfort zone and say, wait a minute, this is wrong here. You know, because if you saw the images of what that woman went through, how she was victimized of domestic violence and how she was laid up in a hospital, it's just really distasteful. Like I said, if the NFL does not do something to address this, I don't see how fans can sit there and continue to support it. Because like I said, this has nothing to do with being patriotic. Has nothing to do with that. It's about human decency. It has nothing to do with the name itself. This has nothing to do with, well, he's not a well-known player, so it don't matter. It does matter because the act itself happens. But what happens is that people exponentiate and heighten folks to say that because they did something wrong, they're willing to excuse their bad behavior because they like the person. And let me explain something. To me, that's just very contradictory, and that's hypocritical for this reason. If you like someone and they commit wrong, people are more than willing to excuse and forgive. But if you don't like the person and they commit that same act, how fast would you see the accumulation of crucifixion that they will cast upon that person because they don't like that individual? How ignorant does that sound? How hypocritical is that? How much of a paradox is that? That you don't get to pick and choose who you like and don't like. If someone did wrong, call it out for what it is. If someone did right, you praise it. But this whole thing of I like someone, I don't like someone, or because I'm cool with that person, I'm not cool with that person, it's like it clouds one's judgment rather than just honing in on addressing the matter at hand. And like I said, even at that, as much as I speak up and speak out about, this topic, I'm sure a lot of folks might flag me or folks might get angry about what I have to say, but it don't matter. Because at the end of the day, guess what? You have to draw attention to the issues that's at hand and focusing on the righteousness of God, focusing on discerning the difference between right and wrong, good and evil. You have to discern the difference of the two. So if you don't know how to discern the difference of the two, you hear this whole comment of, oh, well, it is what it is. No, it's not it is what it is. That's like saying, well, it happened and there's nothing you can do about that. Yes, you can, but it takes unity. It takes people to, build the groundworks and maintaining a pipeline that's not going to be bent, but keep it upright so that when we see something that's wrong, we can stay parallel and march together to address the issue at hand so that we can become a better society and be a better community. You know what I mean? But what happens is that you have people that are very selective. They are choosy. They get to decipher in their own minds what they believe what belief someone stands for, and what they believe in terms of their stances. And like I said, you should never be in that position of whether you like somebody or not, whether you love or hate somebody or not. Yeah, it's easy to love somebody because you have a relationship with someone in that regard. I get that part, but I'm saying is that even if you don't know the person, but if you see something that's not happening, that's wrong, call it out for what it is. You know what I mean? It's like what Dr. Martin Luther King did. I didn't grow up with them. I'm sure a lot of folks didn't grow up with them. There was folks that knew who he was because he grew up during that era where folks have built relationships with them. But I'm saying is that you didn't personally knew him, and yet people have been impacted by his legacy. You know what I mean? So the point that I'm saying is that don't focus in so much on what someone did or what someone didn't do. It's about what they're trying to bring forth the attention to. And if it's right, then you know what? Let's praise it. But if it's wrong, let's call it out and make the correction needed and rebuke the wrong so that we can get it in order. You know what I mean? So when I think about, what happened to that victim that was brutally beaten by Chad Wheeler, to me, like I said before, that's a soft move, that's a sucker move, and that's cowardly. And there's no way that one can ever accept and justify wrong. There's no way. You can't sit there and justify wrong and excuse bad behavior. That's like a child acting up, and a child is throwing a monstrous tantrum on the floor or out in the community or out in the public, and you still reward that child, with negative reinforcement. No, you don't reinforce child bad behavior by giving them a reward. It don't work that way. But yet you got people doing that to keep the child quiet, and that's an example. And to me, it's like that shows who you are as far as how you parent your child. And I'm not saying that there's one way of how to parent your child, But I believe that the most important thing you have to do with a child is teach your child the way of the Lord from the beginning. Book of Proverbs talks about that. Read the book of Deuteronomy. It talks about that. So, again, let's just bring it back to this issue at hand. Domestic violence has been rising. And I mean rising in the local communities, and I'm sure it's everywhere else too, though. But I'm saying you hear a lot of that in our community, where you hear about infractions of someone getting beaten by the hands of their significant other, by their spouse or their boyfriend, girlfriend. And like I said, it goes both ways. You can't sit there and say, well, you know, a guy beats up on a woman, you got more folks want to jump the guy, but where if a girl is the one beating up on her boyfriend or her husband, everybody keeps crying like, oh no, he can handle that. No, that's why the movie Disclosure happened. If anybody saw the movie Disclosure with Michael Douglas and Demi Moore, it was the same situation. It was, except this one was about sexual harassment, where, you know, she was sexually harassing him, but because he was a guy, no one didn't believe him. But if she was the one being sexually harassed, they'll dog him out and crucify that man. No, it's not about gender. It's about humanity. It's about decency. It's about respect all across the board. But as you can see, there's been a lot of double standards. So what I'm saying is that domestic violence is an issue in itself that should never happen, as far as at home, whether it's like, you know, with parents, whether it's like, you know, with marriage, or it's with relationship. And anytime you're in a position that you feel like that you're being abused, call the hotline. If you feel like you're being attacked, as far as being beaten, leave that relationship. Leave that relationship, because if you let that slide one time, who's to say it won't escalate to something else where it becomes even more severe or even fatal? Because like I said, I've witnessed situations where people have died from being beaten due to domestic violence. So we want to make sure that as a community that we get the help that's needed. If you know someone that has been victimized of domestic violence, you know, make sure they get the information as far as calling the crisis hotline to address that matter, to make sure they get all the help and resources needed, because we want to prevent, you know, the victim that Chad Wheeler was beating on his girlfriend to not happen again. And like I said, this has nothing to do with, you know, it should not have anything to do with in terms of black and white. But of course, somewhere along the line, you're going to hear the discussion about racism. And it's just sad that this conversation continues to still resurface over and over repeatedly. But you know what? It has to be brought up again, because somewhere along the line, they're going to address it by saying, well, because, you know, he's a white guy, he has mental disorder, but a man of color that beat up his girlfriend or his wife, he's a thug. Stop creating a different narrative and a different outcome when the same act happens, no matter who did it, no matter who does it. If there's a man beating up on a woman and commits domestic violence, he should be punished for what he did. If the woman commits the DV and beats on her boyfriend, her husband, she should be punished as well. So let's make sure that when we discussing about domestic violence, focus on the act, not the color, not the demographic, as saying, well, because this one particular person did it, everybody else does it too. No, it's not. And I'm sure you're gonna hear this ignorant stupidity of a narrative that because, oh, you know, he didn't have his father there, or because he had mental disorder. Stop doing that, man, because like I said before, mental disorder is something nothing to play around with. It's nothing to toy with, because like I said, that can impact lives easily. And I know people who have dealt with mental disorders who are getting the help that's needed, because we know how devastating it could be if you allow it. But don't use that to be the excuse, or don't put that in the forefront justifying why the domestic violence happened. Because like I said, if you're going to use that same argument about Chad Wheeler, use that same argument for a man of color that commits the same act. If you're not going to use that same argument, then take it for what it is. Whoever commits the crime should do time, plain and simple. Stop focusing on color, but focus on the act itself. So I just want to just share that message, folks, and I just pray that you guys really just be inspired and be uplifted and be edified and continue to raise awareness. So with that being said, folks, once again, I humbly ask you guys to please subscribe, like, and share to UDR Productions Go Love Team. Support your boy MVP, most valuable poet, being politically correct. We're gonna go at it again till next time. Guys, stay warm, be careful, because the snow's coming at some point or another. God bless you guys. We love y'all. We're gonna go at it again till next time. Peace and blessings out.
Want to give a shout out?
Want to give a shout out?
Yeah, to Ceddy.
Okay.
Brother Ceddy.
All right, listen, I want to give a shout out. Well, let me make a couple announcements. Rather, a couple of acknowledgments. Shout out to brother Ceddy.
Ceddy Nash.
Ceddy Bash.
Nash.
Oh, Ceddy Nash. Okay, forgive me, pardon me. So I want to give a shout out to brother Ceddy Nash. I want to just acknowledge and give a shout out to Donate Life for folks who are interested in being an organ donor. Go to donatelife.org. Once again, www.donatelife.org. And I just want to make sure that we just put this out there in the forefront. So once again, we love you guys. God bless you guys. Stay warm. We're going to go again to next time. Peace and blessings. We're going to do this again. Out.
Yes, indeed, y'all. Yes, indeed. Welcome to UDR Productions. Please like, subscribe, and share. It doesn't cost you nothing to subscribe, so we can keep bringing you guys all this good content from prayer to streets. UDR Productions. Let's go and let's get it.